Well, Don, we have a very unusual show. We have a guest that you and I spoke to on our other show some weeks ago. His name is Elbert Guillory, and when we come back from the break, we're going to have a good conversation with him about some real important issues. I'm Dan Perkins.
I'm Don Mazzella.
It's time for Two Guys from Verona. Each week, you will hear from Dan Perkins, a financial expert, a regular columnist for the Hill website, and best-selling author, and Don Mazzella, a veteran journalist, author, and radio host talking about things that concern you politically, financially, and socially. They will also try to give listeners a heads up on future happenings.
Well, Don, I have the great pleasure to introduce Elbert Guillory, who is a very unique, different, and wonderful person. I had a chance to spend some time with him on the phone this afternoon, and we did an interview with him several weeks ago on our 5 o'clock show, Mr. Elbert Guillory. He's a state senator from the state of Louisiana. He is a black man who, for most of his adult life, or perhaps all of his life, was a Democrat, and was, if I correct, Elbert, it was 2014 you became a Republican.
2013, yes.
2013. Would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you became a Republican?
I'm from a semi-rural area in the deep south in Louisiana, Bayou country. And I'm from a semi-rural area in the deep south, kind of farm folks, country folks. So our values are what I call basic American values: pro-gun, pro-God, pro-life, pro-work, pro-education. So having those values, there came a time when I was just very uncomfortable in the Democrat Party. Those values were looked down upon. They do not believe in people getting up every morning and going to work and taking care of business. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in pro-life. So it was difficult. So my values just forced me to leave. I had to follow my values out of that place and into a place that was more comfortable for me.
What did your family members, who are, as I understand it, Albert, were lifelong Democrats, what did they think about when you told them you were switching parties?
They understood. We had a little family conversation. They understood and appreciate my position. They usually, when I explain what has taken place to just about anyone, they understand and accept my decision, and frequently they join me in this decision. My mother really was one of the persons who convinced me to move. She was 103 at the time. Convinced me to move away from things that the Democrats were saying, because she said that she didn't want dishonor brought onto our family.
So when you decided to run for Congress, big decision?
Very big decision. Family decision. I had to choose between semi-retirement from the practice of law, being a full-time granddad, and taking good care of my grandsons, showing them how to hunt squirrel and rabbit and fish and other things. And we all had to sacrifice. And this is a costly venture. People, if you do politics honestly, it is a very costly thing. A lot of people leave home driving a Chevy and they come back driving a Cadillac, and you know that they have not played the political game honestly and fairly. I have lost money doing politics, and I will continue to lose money doing politics because I'm not here to make money for myself.
If you're successful and you are elected congressman from your district and you go to Washington, D.C., what are you telling your voters you want to accomplish?
I promise them one thing, and that is that I will be a voice for basic American values. I'll be the voice yelling out against this crazy spending that mortgages our grandbabies' futures. I'll be the voice yelling out against this education system that has more than 60% of American children unable to read, write, or compute at grade level.
Elbert, how have your voters reacted to your platform?
Actually, very, very well. I'm honored that the Lord has given me this gift that permits me to explain myself well enough to audiences from all across this country and from all demographics. They are able to understand what I'm talking about, and they should, because it is, as I said, basic American values. Just unfortunately, not enough people are yelling out about those basic American values.
Elbert, in our last conversation, we started the beginning of a dialogue where I asked you the question, why is it that black people tend to vote Democrat? And after that discussion, it began, my reporter instincts took over, and I want to just share with you I want you to answer the question, but I want you to share, I want to share with you some statistics that I've been able to extract by doing some research. Right now, there are 15% of the population of the United States, or 48 million people, who are on welfare, poverty. When the welfare program, the program put together by President Lyndon Johnson to the war on poverty, at that time there were about 32 million people. The current year is expected in the budget to spend $1 trillion on welfare programs in the United States. 20% of the people that are on benefits have been on benefits for over 5 years. In the length of time that we had this war on poverty, we have spent more money than we have spent on all the wars America has ever been involved in, starting with the American Revolutionary War. We have spent over $22 trillion on the war on poverty. Couple other quick points. 73% of births among African Americans today are out of wedlock. The poverty rate for single women with children is 3 times the national average, while blacks represent in 2010 about 13% of the population. They commit 48.7% of the crimes, and we can certainly see that in Chicago. The genocide of the black people taking their own children's lives, and the poverty rate with blacks was 27.4%, or about 3 times higher than the average. And it just seems to me that and I could go on and on and on, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time on this. I just wanted to reinforce the discussion that we started some time ago. What are your thoughts about why black people en masse vote for Democrats?
Well, let's go back to 1964, to the war on poverty and the beginning of it, when Lyndon Johnson, then Democrat president of the United States, signed the war on poverty into existence. He said, and this is exactly what he said, I'm going to give them something, just a little bit, not enough to make a difference, but I will have them, and he used a terrible word, I'll have those N-word voting Democrat for the next 200 years. That's what he said. That was the plan. Not enough to make a difference, and that is exactly what he did. They passed policies, government policies, that were anti-family, anti-education, and it helped to destroy the black family, keeping men out of the home so that the women could get money and would have more money if she had more children. not putting any requirements in that would, you said 20% on benefits over 5 years.
Yes.
And that's because there's no plan to get folks off those benefits. There's no training program. There's no work requirement that would, this is America. We are the most giving, loving people on earth. We want to help folks, but a bridge over troubled waters should not be a highway into the future. It should be just that, a bridge over troubled waters, a way to assist someone to better themselves. But none of that, no work requirements, nothing to assist people up the ladder was given in the war on poverty. It was designed, as Lyndon Johnson said, to keep them voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And he's been successful so far.
So would you be offended if I said, Egbert, if I said to you that the Democratic Party has systematically, under the war on poverty, kept the black people in chains?
Not only would I not be offended, I would stand up and cheer, because what you're saying is 100% correct. That is absolutely right.
But why don't the black leaders in the country of either party rail against this? I mean, it's pretty obvious to anybody who thinks what's going on. Why aren't people railing against it?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I have been doing all that I can to educate black leaders, black pastors. I have been able to convert some to the Republican Party, and I'm working on converting more. At every chance I get, I speak to my brothers and sisters in the black community and talk to them about this and what the impact has been on us. I mean, statistically, it's devastating, and it speaks very eloquently. I don't understand why we insist on holding on to the chains of economic slavery when it would be so easy to turn them loose and to access the opportunities that are here in this country, opportunities that exist nowhere else on earth but in our dear America.
Elbert, we've got about 30 seconds left, and I wanted to ask you one more question. And I apologize if I'm putting you on the spot, but I guess that's what I get paid to do sometimes. What would you tell black people today in your community who are thinking about voting for Hillary?
I would say look at the record. Look at her record of unvarnished, unmitigated difficulty that she has brought into this black community over her years and her husband's years in the White House and in public service. They've been a disaster for us.
And why should they vote for Mr. Trump?
If you look at Hillary and her proven record of not helping us but hurting us, you couldn't possibly vote for Hillary, which means Mr. Trump is the alternative. Let's give him a chance. I believe that he has, and I've heard that he's preparing to come out and deliver his version of the American dream for the black community, and I'm waiting to see. I want to see him repudiate these Democrat policies that have failed and hurt us, hurt all of America, and let him strut his stuff and show what he will do.
Dan, I'd like to ask Elbert another question. Elbert, how do you as a black man appeal to the white voters in one of the old Deep South states?
Number one, I speak the truth, unvarnished, clear truth. Number two, basic American values. We are all in this canoe together. The problems of spending that affect white people affect black people. The problems of poor education affect the white community and affects the black community. And it resonates with every audience that I have been able to speak with.
Elbert, we're sorry to say we're out of time, We've really enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you openly and candidly. We wish you luck in your campaign, and we hope we can have you back on again. And thank you for being on with two guys from Verona.
Thank you very much, Dan, Don. It's been a real joy speaking with both of you.
Thank you.
Same here.
This is Dan Perkins.
Don Mazzella.
And we're the two guys from Verona, and we'll be right back after these messages.